Welcome to the Sunday night chat. I'm Mike, and I am under the weather, man. I'll tell you, all week I've been fighting it. I wake up in the mornings, I feel okay, and then I'm in the shop, and by the end of the day, I'm wore out and just feeling like I'm getting sick. And then, yeah, yesterday I had a plan. I brought the van home. It's parked out front because I thought yesterday I was going to go to an event. I did a video this week where you know, it could have been better. All my videos could be better. I realize, but yeah, I'm not feeling good. But so bear with me on this video. But probably a little bit low energy. But I mentioned a movie, Lord's Dogtown, and then the next day I got an email from somebody inviting me to a party for one of the original Zephyr guys, which was in Hawthorne yesterday. I didn't go because I just didn't feel good, man. I didn't really do much yesterday, and last night it kind of hit me. Like I started with a cough. There's a difference between a cough and me clearing my throat. I do that a lot here because I have this congestion thing. I think it's because I lay down a lot. And also the quality of the air here. Yeah, it's not a cough. That's just a clearing of the throat because the congestion comes up when you're speaking. And a lot of the times I do these videos early in the day and I haven't spoken to anybody yet or haven't done anything physical to kind of knock that crap out of me, and then I'm fine. You'll see in the videos in the shop, it's not as much, or later in the day and that sort of thing. So last night, you breathe that in, and there's a little tickle thing that makes you cough. And I was like, oh crap, man, I'm getting sick. And then last night I had a sweat session. I remember I woke up part of the night. I had to take the comforter off. My arms were drenched in sweat. I was like, oh my God. That was good though. I think maybe I sweated out a little bit. At any rate, that's what's going on. I did have this old client of mine who's in the medical industry, and she had pointed out to me that this is a good thing to take. So I figured I'd turn you guys on to that. So, and I'm eating healthy and all that good stuff. I know how to take care of myself. I've been taking care of myself forever with the mom I had. You know, I wrote some notes here. It's not like what to say, but it's just stuff that I had this whole past week of what's kind of going on. And but I just said something that made me think of one of these things, kind of, and that's that I've been watching older movies lately. What I love about older flicks is they preserve a time. Um, as I'm saying this, other ideas are popping in my brain. That's why you see me doing this a lot. It preserves a time in our culture, American culture, and in particular, I like films from the '70s because I was born in '66. I'll be 59 years old next month in December, December 28th. So yes, I don't have a birthday. I haven't really had a Christmas or a birthday or any of that in decades. I don't do much ever. I'm usually home alone. It's not a woe is me video. Don't worry. Everything's cool. This is what I'm used to. So anyhow, these films, it's just, I can't help it, especially the '70s because it was that was innocence, and into the '80s. And I can't help but look at the way the world is today with young people, and then look at how we came up, and then you're reminded of it. Thank God, there's like this history of it captured on film because you can look at. Let's take the Bad News Bears right now. As a kid watching it, I don't was that 75, 76, something like that. That thing came out. So I was born in '66. I was going to be 10 in '76. At the end of that year, and that's how it was. Now, if you don't remember the film, it's a bunch of kids, and they're probably anywhere from like 8 or 9 to like 13 in that range, and they're playing baseball, little league baseball. It's a California flick, right? So there's a difference there. I'm from Jersey, so it's a different vibe, mentality, and all that. But still captured the time, the cars, the clothes, the people, the way they were, and you think as a kid when you watch it. I remember always thinking it's a kid's movie. Like it was, kind of like the Little Rascals had that thing going where, they were lit. Think about the Little Rascals. I mean, those I think that was shot in the 30s and maybe early 40s. I don't know, but these kids are running around and they're little kids. I mean, they're really little. They're maybe 5, 6 years old. I think they're even earlier than that when they started. And they're having these whole lives out there on the streets. And all the stuff that they do in those films. It was funny with my dad. He was a good bullshit artist, my dad. He used to like try to program your head with nonsense. So you go out into the world and repeat it. And then when people call you out on it and you get in a fight with somebody or something, you come home and you go, "Hey dad, I said this thing that you said, and I got in a fight with this guy or my teacher or whatever," and he'd laugh and he goes, I'm just trying to teach you not to believe everything everybody tells you, including me. That was a good lesson. And he repeated that lesson pretty freaking frequently with me. It was, I walk around sound like a friggin' moron because he wanted that to happen so that I learned to have to figure things out for myself and not rely on whether people are telling me, even him. He did that was it was an orchestrated thing. He let me down plenty of times and then he explained why. That was his way of parenting. And but at one time with the Little Rascals, I remember him trying to convince me of this bullshit. He's like, "Yeah, no, that's all hidden camera. Like they're really doing that. They just had cameras set up and they just captured that." I'm like, "Come on." And then you jump again back to the Bad News Bears here because it's really interesting, but it's an adult film. It really is a grown up film, And if you don't know the film, it's a little league, and this rich guy, I think he's an attorney, wants to create another ball team for his kid, who apparently stinks at baseball, so he can't get on any of the other teams. And it's like supposedly a competitive league. And Vic Morrow plays this coach, overbearing jackass coach of the Yankees. All the teams are named after regular baseball teams, which was common back in the day. And tries to point all this out to Walter Matthau, who played in the minor leagues as a pitcher, and now he cleans pools for a living, and he's a drunk, and he's not happy with his life. Really, doesn't seem like it, and he's a bachelor kind of guy. So I kind of identify. And this rich dude hires him to be the coach and manager, which he kind of learns what that's all about later as the film progresses. At any rate, all the kids that are on this team basically make up the worst players in the area, and they stink. And that's the deal. Now, it captures a time period where the language is such that people today would call it racist, and it's not racist. It's not nice. They're using the N word, and they're calling they're calling Mexicans spics at the time, and they're doing this. They're using all this language. It's got one guy, Tanner, in particular, fun character, but that's not racism, believe it or not. That's bigotry. It's not nice. But at the same time, we grew up at that time with this mantra of, I forgot to look at the watch again. Um, Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words shall never harm me. I'm rubber, you're glue, right? Whatever you say bounces back and it sticks to you. We used to say those things. I got to put that on a t-shirt because nobody lives like that anymore. Now everybody's so hypersensitive. It's ridiculous. But racism it's a strong word, man. We're losing the pure meaning, the true meaning of words because they flippantly get thrown around by morons. Racism it's a belief that, you know, some races are more superior to others, and it takes an act to really make it a thing. Like, you say something really derogatory to somebody because in your brain you think that they're inferior to you based on race, kind of thing. And then racism is really more of an action. It's like you have to, like, you're keeping somebody down because of the way they look or where they come from, that sort of thing. It's not a word. Language is not this thing that they've created. Getting back to the Bad News Bears today, where I do this thing every video, right? I start talking, my lips stretch, and then the skin is loose, and I don't have a hair and makeup person. All right, I cut my hair today. I'm going to jump off on a little thing here. I just want to say this before I forget it, because cutting your own hair as a man is a man thing. You wonder as you're younger, like, what's a man like? Cutting your own hair is one of the things that actual men do. Like, That's a man's man kind of thing. Cut your own friggin' hair. You don't need somebody paying money to get your hair cut is retarded. Sorry, but that's just how I feel about it. Okay, back to language and kids. So, it's this thing where we were in a position at that time in the 70s where adults, you know, expected us. It was, your children to be seen and not heard, and if you are, you better act like an adult because juvenile stuff wasn't tolerated. Adults had no patience for that, and they were all smoking cigarettes and drinking and everything else and feeding us beer as kids. Everything you see in that picture is that's the way it really was. For better or worse, I think it was for better because we were allowed to have a childhood in a way where it was like go out and play, come back when the streetlights are on. So you had, as a kid, you had a whole life that was going on that was separate from your home life. So we were better prepared for adulthood by the time we graduated high school than kids are now and have been for the last 20 years or so because it got so soft, play dates and all this other crap. It's interesting. The whole thing is interesting to me. Words don't mean anything. The fact that we're in this place now where we're supposed to accept the idea that people's feelings matter. I get it. I'm not trying to sound like some robot that doesn't have feelings. I have feelings. I have empathy and all that. But your feelings are personal, man. That's how you personally feel. Expecting everybody else around you to have to count out to your emotional issues is ridiculous. That's narcissistic, in my opinion. That's like everybody else has to agree with the way I think and feel and everything else. No, it's not the case. It's not the case. And that's what we learned as kids. And then you learn. And what you did is you learn skills. Like you learn how to stand up for yourself. You learn how to defend yourself physically or with a sense of humor. And then you actually developed character, right? Adversity and challenges and things you have to overcome on your own builds character. And then your character is what's remembered, right? And your character dictates your life and the friendships and relationships that you have with others. When you pass on, that's what people are going to remember about you, So it's all that happens it starts happening at a young age. And if you don't allow that to happen, which is what's happened for the last generation pretty much, then what happens is like you've infantized the youth. And so it takes longer for them to get it, which is why we have all these juvenile minds voting for socialism. Like it's really voting against their best interests. And it's so easy to get over on people. You just have to sound right. You just have to make it sound good. If you listen to these young people being interviewed that voted for Mondami in New York City, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well I believe in like freezing the rents and all these things, and the free this and the free that." It's just going to be like this heartbreaking thing for them when none of this stuff happens. It's going to be interesting to watch how that all goes down. It's crazy. But again, so this picture, it's so fascinating to me because you watch it now. I watch it now as a grown up. I'm like, holy cow, I can't believe the scenarios that are going on. The relationship between Tatum O'Neal and Robert Mathau there is really so. Apparently a couple years earlier he was going out with her mom and they don't get along, and so he had to walk away from her, but obviously he had a bond with this kid. I know what this feeling is. I've had it. I've dated women that have kids. You bond with the kids. Or a couple of years ago I had this thing with this lady. I was working on her house and I bond with her kids, and that was and it's tough, man, because the kids care about you, but I'm not their dad. And then if that situation isn't working out for whatever reason, you got to walk away. But the kids remember you, and it's a tough thing. And then it's a heartbreaking thing for the kids, but it's good. It's good to have your heart broken as a kid. It's so good to do this because again it helps you to mature. It helps you to understand the way the world actually is. It needs to happen more. If you got kids, you got young kids, disappoint them as often as possible. Explain to them why, but do it. because you keep giving your kids everything is the reason that we're seeing this issue go on. You know, these young people today that are going to college and everything, uh, most of them were not never had a want for anything, and now you know they're being pro. It's just I don't even, that's not even what I wanted to talk about. Imagine this. Imagine you have an 11-year-old, 10, 11-year-old, and it's a girl, and you're letting her sit out on somewhere on Mulholland Drive in a lawn chair by herself, selling maps to the stars' homes. That's in the movie. That's what's going on. She's like a little grown up. And that's how we all were. That's how we all were. I was making my own money. 8, 9 years old, I was making money. Mowing lawns, raking leaves, shoveling snow, cleaning people's cars, offering to clean anything for them. That's how I made my money. I went to work with my dad. I would go to the junkyards. I'd go through garbage. I'd find stuff. I'd sell it. I'm still living the same way. It's, we just had all this freedom to grow and become who we were early. And I think it was the right thing to do. I can't. Anyhow, it's such a good movie. If you haven't watched the original Bad News Bears, do yourself a favor and watch that flick. That scene where you know she's been pitching, her arm hurts, and she's got this fantasy in her mind about setting up her coach Walter Matthau with her mom again, and he's trying to say, no, he's trying to push her away. You know, he doesn't want the attachment, and he did kind of use her, in the picture, and it's such a hard scene to watch. It's like it'll get you choked up every time. And that Kelly Leak kid, I forget his name. He's one of those actors with 3 names, because he kind of disappeared, in my opinion, at least as far as I recall, after the Bad News Bears. But then he reappeared later, and he's been in a bunch of good movies. And every time you see him, I'm just like, oh, that's the guy from the Bad News Bears. That's the kid from the Bad News Bears. But think about that kid, because he was probably 12 or 13, and he's riding his own little motorcycle, and he's smoking cigarettes. He's got the sunglasses on. He's hitting on adult women. It's so crazy, but that's real, man. Breaking Away. No, not Breaking Away. That was a bicycle movie. There's another flick. It was the first, I think it was Matt Dillon's first flick about the kids and, how bad it was. I've talked about it here before in another video a couple of years ago. I can never remember the name of that movie, but it's a great flick, and it's another version of this, what I'm talking about. And I don't know, man. The whole thing is just nuts. I love these movies. And last night I watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High again, which it was funny as I was watching because I was sick, feeling sick. And when I first watched that movie in like 83, I think it came out, 83, 84, I remember I was sick. And I was on cough medicine. I was actually carrying a glass bottle of cough, which probably had codeine in it. So I'm drinking cough medicine, and I'm smoking grass, drinking, Boone's Farm or peppermint schnapps or something. High school, living alone, and going to the movies with my friends. And I remember I didn't remember the whole movie. I went back and saw that movie probably a few times, 3 times or so that year when it was out. And I watched that again last night, and it's really a good flick, But again, the adult themes in it. It's this girl's 15, going into freshman year. Jennifer Jason Leigh is her name, I think, and she, the actress, and she's, her girlfriend Phoebe Cates is, all her girls are egging her on to get laid. That's what it was, man. In the 80s, everybody wanted to get laid as quick as possible. You just wanted to get that out of the way. I don't think it's like that anymore. And then she ends up screwing a guy. She's 15, and she has sex with a guy who's 27. And she lies about her age, which is a thing. Like, that's, as a man, you don't know. The girl tells you how old she is, you believe her. Nobody, you're not checking her ID. That's so crazy. Damone knocks her up. She has to get the abortion. I've talked about that here before with my story with abortion, which is not great. As far as I know, I've never knocked anybody up. But because I lived alone and I had a car, there was a girl I knew the summer before junior year. I can't remember. It was either the summer before junior year or the summer before senior year. It was probably the summer before senior year. And I worked on the boardwalk every summer at the Jersey Shore, Seaside Heights, and Seaside Park. And this girl I knew, her girlfriend got pregnant and had made the choice to get an abortion, which was the thing at that time. Just how it was, man. That's not like something I agree with, but that was their choice, and that was the attitude in the '80s. That's what it was. You get knocked up and you're young, you just get the abortion. That was the easy way out because everybody was fucking. So that's just how those things were happening. So I took this girl. She knew where the place was and everything, and then I knew where that place was. And then my senior year, I probably took. I'm not proud of this, by the way. It doesn't make me happy. It really screwed me up. I might as well get into it. It's not what I have written down here, but it really stuck with me because it wasn't a good experience for me either. But I probably took half a dozen girls to this place. That wouldn't be an exaggeration. Could have been one or two more, give or take one or two, in that range, 5 to 7 or in that range, to this place, which at that time it wasn't like a nice facility like they probably have today. It was a house that was converted to like a Planned Parenthood kind of place, but that's all they did was abortions. And the first time I went, I made the mistake of going in and sitting in that front room, and you could hear the walls are paper thin. She's on the other side of the wall. I could hear it. And I don't know what they gave her, but I think it was, probably made her a little delirious. And then I hear this machine come on, like, I guess they vacuum it out or something. She's screaming in there, and I'm like, oh my God, I had to get out. It was terrible. I never went back in whenever I took somebody there, and every girl reacted to it differently afterwards, but they were not the same person afterwards. Terrible. But that was that was the time. So that's not a great thing. Going back, looking at it, obviously, I feel guilty about that to a certain extent. At any rate, I'm keeping that story short. Yeah, it's just I look at those times and I know what we all went through, and we were partying a lot and doing drugs and doing all these things. And then yes, a lot of people didn't survive. We all had friends back then that died in car wrecks and drug overdoses, or later depression and people killing themselves, all kinds of things. But that's life. That's life. That's how it is, man. And not everybody handles it well. The best thing you can do is be the best person you can be as righteous as you could be as honest as you can be true to yourself, and with the character that you've developed. I say this all the time. Your energy, the energy that you put out there, is the energy that you get back. So John Lennon always said, "Always be yourself. It might not get you a lot of friends, but it'll get you the right ones." And if you're fortunate enough to have the right kind of people in your life, where you have friends with you can talk to about things, you're less likely to have those pitfalls. You'll get past those pitfalls easier, because it is harder to do when you're alone. And I am alone, but I have friends, so there's a difference. Anyway, I don't know what the hell else to talk about here. Oh, yeah, so it is November 9th. Tomorrow is the 10th of November, which is the Marine Corps 250th birthday. I was in boot camp at this time in 1985. I graduated on 15 November, so in 6 days it'll be my anniversary from earning the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, officially becoming a United States Marine. Yeah. But it was in boot camp for the whatever year that was. It was 85, but I don't remember the birthday. Well, let's think about that for a second. 85, 95, 2005, 2015. So 40 years ago, that would have been the 210th birthday of the Marine Corps. And they had an event at Parris Island and that we were part of. We were getting ready to graduate, right? We were in third phase. We had 5 days left to graduate. And so they had us out there in formation for this event that took hours. I don't remember how many hours. Maybe it was 3 hours or 4 hours. It was multiple hours. I always remember it as like 6 hours. So maybe it was. I don't know. It seemed like an all day thing. And they really coached us with that because so what happened was they had a parade. And I don't remember everything that went on. I was too busy trying to stand up the whole time. Um, because you were in the background were formations of the battalions, the 3 battalions of the graduating companies in formation as we would go in camis. I know we might have been in our uniforms. We might have been in our Class A's, like the green uniforms. That's probably what we were in. We didn't graduate in dress blues back then. Back then, the Marine Corps couldn't afford it. You had to buy your own dress blues after boot camp, which I never did. I never owned a pair of dress blues. So, which is sad. That was a weird time to be in the Corps. They didn't have a lot of money. Anyhow, we kept going from position of attention to parade rest. And they told us, they said, look, if the guy next to you passes out, falls out or something, don't move. Do not react to it because somebody will come and get rid of him. And that night they put it on the TV there because it's not like we watched stuff. We had one movie they put on once in a while, like on a Saturday night or something. I don't remember why, but it was the DI. It was like a picture from like 1950 or something. The guy from Dragnet, I think, was the star of it. So they let us watch that once in a while. But or Zick would get pissed off and he'd say, "You're gonna watch the bug fights," and he would turn the screen on to nothing but static, and that was called the bug fights. You get pissed off. You're watching the bug fights now. Click. At any rate, we watched that night, and you see these ambulances going around in the background and picking guys up that fell out. And I remember watching Zick. I might have been a squad leader at that time. No, I don't think I was a squad leader, but I could see him, and he had his sword. And I remember him doing this, and he was scratching behind his ear with the edge of the sword as he was standing there in formation. At any rate, that was my first experience with a Marine Corps ball, and I don't remember what I did the next year. It doesn't matter. But it's the 250th anniversary, and it's kind of a big deal for them. I'm not going to go do anything. I'm not feeling well anyhow. But if you don't know, the Marine Corps was formed in what's called Tun Tavern, which was this tavern. I think it was taken down in 1847 or something. It was in Philadelphia. And yeah, I mean, but the original Marines were put on naval vessels as sharpshooters for the most part. And so they would go up in the masts. And it's interesting because there's I forget what it's called. I'm not such a bad Marine now. I'm not up on all my naval terminology and all the original stuff. It's been a long time. But there's a rope thing that they have on the top of the cover. And that was so that we can identify the guys down there, our guys, so we wouldn't shoot them if the enemy boarded the ship and they were fighting on the ship. But we were that, and we board ships and all that. And they call us leathernecks because they put these leather collars around our necks to stop knife and sword cuts from decapitating you or slicing your throat. And it must have been pretty brutal fighting then. It's pretty. The Marine Corps history is pretty wild. It's good stuff. I loved it, man. I loved boot camp. I loved all of that stuff. It was just getting injured sucked, and then once I got out and did the Security Force thing, that base just happened to be a bad base. So I will bring this up real quick. I have another VA appointment this week. I had the one for all the physical stuff, and then they sent me a thing, which things are being denied, which things are being deferred. I had x-rays. So now I have to go back for them to recheck the things that were deferred. Which is a good thing. It should all work. But what I've learned is, if I haven't mentioned this already, when I first started this process, I did it on my own, not knowing anything. And you shouldn't do that. You really should talk to somebody. You should talk to an advocate or somebody so you know how to talk to the doctors, because you don't know you're getting yourself into. And case in point, I have this ankle issue because I had this injury in boot camp, and then later I had recurring ones. And That guy I went to was terrible, and that was denied, and it was because of him. He's Mike Tyson's older brother, Dr. Tyson, and uh, he'd been a medic in the Navy for 12 years, got out, went to medical school, became a brain surgeon. Now he works for the VA doing this. And I went in there and he had my records on his computer and he looks up at me. He goes, "They railroaded you. I could see it right here." So I sat down and said, "I know." He goes, "Yeah, man, this is crazy what they did. But, there's a clear, I could see where you were injured. You have all the records here. You don't have anything to worry about. Write it up because the evidence shows it." And then we spent the rest of the time talking about him and his kids spending too much of his money, and all these things. He never, I even asked him, "You want me to take my shoes off?" He goes, "I don't worry about it." So he never gave me a physical, never looked at my feet, nothing. We didn't even talk about it. I do recall him asking me a couple questions, like, standing for so long, that sort of thing, but not as intense as whatever it's been now. A couple months ago, I think, when I went to this other doctor, man, she was really on top of it. The questionnaire, the questions she's asking me, everything was like on. I was like, yes, that's a thing. Thank you. She even brought up things that I do or that I can't do that I wouldn't have thought of because she was that diligent in her work. The difference between these two was amazing to me, and I'm gonna do a whole video on this experience once everything's like I get my full rating and everything. We know where we're at, so just to help other people out. But we'll stop talking about that right now. Okay, we're gonna mark these off. I talked about that. I talked about this. I talked about that. We'll stay on the before we get on anything that I can make you laugh about. We'll stay on it's kind of military thing just briefly because there's going to be a video hopefully this week if I find the time. I am in possession right now of 2 watches it's going to touch on the watch thing. And last week, by the way, I did a whole Sunday night chat about my watch hobby and my passion for it. It's not performing well, and that's because not everybody's into it, and I understand that. I'm not buying watches right now. Every once in a while, but it's rare. When you see me with something that you haven't seen before, I bought this like 2 years ago or more. So I have a lot of watches. I went nuts buying all these watches for specific reasons, and now I have this all these things that I can do videos on for watch content. And the watch thing is turning into a thing that's going to help me in the future. So it's fun for me. But one of the things that's important is something I bring up here as frequently as I can remember to. I'm really feeling like I want to go to sleep right now. is hobbies, right? And how a hobby can enrich your life in so many ways. And for one thing, if it's a hobby where you have to create things and make things and whatnot, it does something to your brain that you need to do. You need to keep your brain limber. It's important. But the other thing is, because I can share it here with you, it's enriching your lives, a lot of you. And so because the channel's so diverse, and I guess people like watching me get into things and figuring things out, whatever I'm going to say, it's entertaining, I suppose, to some of you, enough of you. I keep getting new subscribers. We're about to hit 13,900, I think, is coming up. So we'll be at 14,000 subscribers here pretty soon. It'll be cool when I get to 15. That'll be like a milestone, 15,000 subscribers. For me, it's a big deal. At any rate, it's made other people look in their drawers and find their watches and everything else. And it just so happens, and I'm going to do a video on this, so I'm not going to get too into it right now. The guy who won the watch giveaway, Roger, great dude, nice guy. Roger, were you a pilot? I think he's a pilot. I got to look back at his emails. He sent me a picture of himself in a leather flight jacket with the watch on, which was cool. But even cooler is that he sent his dad's, I think it's an Elgin, that his dad wore in World War II. He became a coder guy. He was a musician. So because he could read music, they took a lot of those guys in to do the coding stuff. And so there's a picture of his dad at a desk wearing the watch that I have here on my work surface. And he sent it to the watch shop, Majestic WJ here on Larchmont Boulevard, to get serviced. It needed a new mainspring. At any rate, it's just so cool. Now that watch, and I have a Lord Elgin Both of these watches were worn in World War II. The Lord Elgin was worn by a Marine on Iwo Jima, who was the father of a psychotherapist friend of mine guy, and the one that Roger sent me. So I'm going to do a video on those, just kind of talk about them soon. But how cool is that? I think that that's really fascinating. And I don't know. I find that whole subject matter interesting and fun. And apparently, it's waking some other people up. And a lot of you guys are starting to wear watches again, and you're finding your old watches and getting into it. I think it's a cool thing. The point I didn't drive home last week was, why wear the watch? I have brought it up a lot, and it's because 2004 I got my first cell phone, and after that I stopped wearing a watch, and it was fine then because you pick up your phone to look at the time. But then when the smartphones came out, when you pick up your phone now to look at the time, there's all these things. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, YouTube, and because I'm on social media, I've got notifications and messages. And so you pick up the phone to look at the time and you lose 20 minutes, so you're not as productive. Whereas when I'm in the shop and I want to glance down at my wrist to see the time, I can just do that and I can keep working. I don't lose time in the phone. And if that's happening to me, that's probably happening to you. And we all need to spend less time on our phones. Put the phone down, man. I mentioned this recently in a video too about the young people that don't think they need to know anything because they can just look it up on their phone. It's so crazy. They're dumb. They don't know anything. They know how to look things up on the phone, but depending on what it is that they're looking at, that subject matter, especially if it touches on politics at all, you don't know that what you're getting is the real thing. What if you're just reading the New York Times or something? We know that there's a problem with that. So I'm just saying, put down the phone. And yeah, that was the watch hobby thing. I just wanted to bring that up real quick because I think that that's cool. All right. The rest of this should be a little lighter, I suppose. Okay. I keep bringing up the hair thing, right? Because I'm losing, the hair's getting thin here, man. I'm not going to show you the top. It's really strange. If I look in the mirror and I look behind me, I'm getting thin here, but it's not gone completely. But if I look at it on the phone, it looks like a giant bald spot. The crazy thing is, when I do it on the phone, if I shoot it there and I watch it on the phone, that's what it looks like. But if I watch it on the computer, it's not as bad. So there's something about the screen on the phone with the light that makes things look way worse than they actually are in real life. So I'm learning that. I got to get off my own case. But yes, obviously this is going away here, and it's I got for years. You get hair in the drain every time you take a shower, and as you guys know, there are hair transplants, right? There's a thing you could do, but it costs a lot of money, especially here in the States. It's your hair. It's real. It's not some weird, it's just a thing where nowadays it's different. It used to be a different procedure, but nowadays they can literally remove individual hairs from back in here and up in here where it's thicker anyhow. For some reason, you have a much denser hair population here as it thins here, and this stays more. So they could take a lot of that out. And they literally put little cuts in your scalp and they replant them like you're planting plants in a friggin' garden or something here, and they create a new hairline and all that. And you can go to Turkey for this, and it's anywhere between like $2 to $4 grand. Does not include the airfare, but I believe meals are included. But they put you up in a hotel and everything. They pick you up from the airport. They bring you to the hotel. They pick you up from the hotel. They bring you to the place. It's not a good look when you have it done. You shave your head. You got this scalp of holes in it, and it looks terrible, and the crusty blood and everything. That's a week or two, and then it starts growing, then it falls out, then it grows back. But a year later, you've got your hair back, and it's your hair. And I know this is like a vain thing, but I got to tell you, you can't knock it because women have been doing this for years. The lips, the nose jobs, the boob jobs, liposuction. Well, the guys get it too. But people, if it makes you feel better, here's what changed my mind on all of this was I knew a woman back in the 90s I used to work on movies with, and she's a set dresser, and she got really big into it. And, You know, things used to happen. And she did not have great boobs. They were not attractive boobs. She had great nipples, world class, like, you know. But and the funny thing about her was she was the kind of this overconfident person already and kind of obnoxious and whatnot. But she was making enough money, so she went and got a boob job. And it was, for her, it was a good thing because she was very self conscious about it. And I saw the change. Of course, it went too far in that direction then because she started wearing all these outfits where she was basically, I mean, barely wearing anything out at parties and all that. So it kind of, she had a narcissistic kind of personality already. So it kind of pushed her way over the top in that direction, which I had a, whoa, look, that's too much, man. It's too much. But it was a positive thing for her because I saw the before and after. And the mistake, though, with the hair transplants is that I see these older guys. There's two mistakes. One is if you do it and you're too young. Like if you're getting a hair transplant and you're only in your 30s or something, by the time you get to my age, it's not going to look right because you'll have some of the hair you put in, but you're going to lose the hair that you were going to lose anyhow. So you end up with this weird patch of hair here and then a weird bald thing here because that hair was going to come out. It's better to wait till you're older. And as I said, I'll be 59 next month, and so I was pretty lucky with my hair up until now. So it's not going to get that much worse. But the other main thing is when you see old guys, Stallone, I look at Stallone, he might just be wearing a rug, but that hairline, this hairline that these guys do where it comes down to like here and comes across, that is a mistake, man. It looks stupid. It looks just dumb as hell. You know, you're clearly in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and you've got this hairline that's impossible. Why are you doing that? You got to do, like, I would still keep a widow's peak. I would just bring it down right to here, right to here, and still have a widow's peak and everything else, and fill this in and fill that in a little bit. Mine would be an easy one, be an easy one to do, because I don't want to go super crazy with it. And but the reason I'm bringing all this up is I was, first of all, I can't afford it right now, but a couple things are coming down the pike where I think I can have some money. That the house thing is, you know, more than likely the house will get sold. I always said to my sister, I said, you know, if we could each net 100 grand, and I know I thought about moving into it and everything else, but I can't, you know, it's too much with this whole situation. So that's what's likely going to happen. But I'm in no rush. I'm waiting for this VA stuff to handle, and uh, that was the arrangement we made in the beginning of this. Anyhow, is I would make the decisions on it. It's kind of complicated because I wouldn't mind renting it for a short period of time because it's just sitting there, but it's too much to deal with this other situation. So that's what's going to end up happening. But it might be a year or more down the road. So that's sitting there. But the reason I bring this up is I think it would be fun to have a couple guys and do it together. And I think it'd be like fun video to do. And I have this house in Greece. I say I have this house. It's a family house. Nobody's doing anything with it. It's the house my father was born in, and it's empty. They could have torn it down by now. I've got the keys to it. And it's in the little village of Anthusa. And people have been moving back to rural areas, just like here, because you can work from home now because of the internet and everything. And I had this thought a couple weeks ago about it. Like, what if it would be fun to go to Greece again. I never thought I'd go back, but it would be fun to go and see family there who I haven't seen since 2001. And I'm sure that would be a great time. And then go to Turkey and do the hair thing. But if I had another dude or a couple other dudes and there was a group of us doing it, what a party that would be, man. What a party that would be. Holy cow, man. Because, you know, we would have a good time. And then I thought, what if I did that and then went back to the house in Greece for the first couple weeks of dealing with this? And then, you know, come back here and not have to deal with it here so much. It's just a thought. I mean, this is all fantasy talking right now, but it could be fun. And then you start thinking about fantasy stuff, and this is where we get into the more fun aspects of things because, you know, how much longer do we have on the planet? You know, I don't anticipate on living like forever, obviously. And this is going to be a little morbid for some people, but when I was like 9 years old, I was playing with a Ouija board. Ooh. We had a house that was absolutely haunted. The weird stuff happened in this house. This is up in Suffern, New York, and um, a lot of weird stuff happened in that house, like poltergeist kind of shit. And I was playing with this thing, and by myself, so I wasn't moving it. No, no, no. There was a girl that was a babysitter with us, and her friend came over, and we were playing with this thing. And that's where I heard the moped joke for the first time. Mopeds, they're like fat chicks. They're fun to ride, but you don't want your friends to see you on one. That was the joke. That was that afternoon. I'm playing with this thing. I'm 9 years old, and I asked the Ouija board when I was going to die, and it said 60 years. Now, it's not like I'm believing all this, but I have to tell you, I should have been dead many times, man. I've been through some shit. I've been through some serious situations, man, where it's amazing that I'm alive right now. And as I got older, I started to think like, wow, maybe there is something to that. Well, okay, let's just say for the sake of this conversation, there is. That's 10 more years, man. What are you going to do in 10 years? I'm probably just going to sit around and watch movies like I have been doing. I don't know what the hell's going on in my life. I don't think if anything's going to get better or worse, or I don't know what the hell's going on. But like I think of this funny thing about women and kids and not ever having a kid and all these videos and talking about how kids are being raised today and where are they getting their information and how do you raise them. And I look at young people today and it's clear to me that their parents didn't do a good job because these kids don't know anything, and they're too sensitive and all these things. And of course, I haven't been dating at all, and I haven't been having sex at all. I know this is hard for some women out there to believe, but I haven't. Years, like for the last 5 years, I've said this before. This is some of you gonna think it's embarrassing. You don't want to believe it, whatever. It's just I'm not geared towards it. I wanna. Everything still works. Believe me, I check the equipment regularly. Everything's working fine. Trust me. Everything works, but I'm not going out. I'm not meeting anybody. And this is a weird town to be living in to do that. And it's expensive. Women are expensive. In case you don't know, ladies, you're friggin' expensive. And so there's all that stuff going on. So like in the last 5 years, I've literally had sex like 4 times, man. I'm just not doing it. I'd like to. I'm also picky. It's not like I can't. I get plenty of offers. And it's very sweet. And thank you. But just not into you, like in that way. When I meet you, I'm not into that. And I happen to like a particular attitude. I happen to like particular features and whatnot. And I happen to be particular about figures. That's it. So I'm a little on the picky side, but I'm not desperate. If I was desperate, it wouldn't matter so much. If all I cared about was getting laid, which is something else that we'll tie into this in a minute, because I don't understand this thing about people not being able to control themselves with sex. I don't understand it. Because if you would have asked me when I was young, I would have maybe thought I was a bit of a deviant to an extent, like 'cause I wanted to have sex as much as possible, which I thought everybody else did, and I was. But now that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, I had plenty with plenty of people. I mean, I'm not bragging and I'm not proud of it, but my body count's pretty high, and like ridiculously so. So I've had all that experience. I don't need it anymore. But then I think about the kid thing, and of course I'm not having sex at all right now. It would be nice. It would be nice if But again, I know what I like. So I have this funny thought, like, as I'm older, who cares about the safe sex aspect of it anymore? Like, just dump it in there, man. Just if I'm gonna have sex with somebody now, that's what's happening. And if somebody was to get pregnant, I'm not gonna be around much longer anyhow. So what difference does it make? That sounds horrible to a lot of you. And I think to myself, I literally have, I don't even know, 1,600 videos or more on YouTube where I've talked about so much stuff in my life and what I'm into and what I think about, all these different things. I think my videos would be better at raising my kid if I wasn't around than me doing it without that. Honestly, I think that. Just sit the kid down in front of YouTube and hit play, and there's your dad. I'm going to go wash the dishes. That's your dad. What do you say about this? Yeah, well, I don't, it's just a funny idea, thought that I had in my brain. Like, that's what you could do. Why not? Who gives a shit? Like, I mean, you understand what I'm saying. It's just, I think about that too with all the crap I got. It is a funny thing. I would be nice to start selling all this shit because I've got a museum of crap that I have accumulated over the years because I'm single. It's interesting thought. Um, yeah, because we already use YouTube to learn everything. Anything I'm doing lately, even working on the van, I started there and I had to do my own videos because I couldn't find the content out there that was good enough. Not that I make the best videos on the Astro van, I don't, but I know I help a lot of people because I get those messages from people all the time. This is the thing about these videos, man, and what motivates me to keep making videos. Not the Sunday night chat thing so much, but on all the subject matter I've talked about over the years. Every day there's comments on my videos throughout the day, right? I check throughout the day so it's easier for me at night. I don't sit there and have to spend 2 hours going through messages and comments. So they're obscure. There's these videos that are 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, and they're on the van, and it was like, it wasn't, I can't remember what was going on at the time when I did that, but a lot of it is thanking me for doing the video. Of course, on everything. The watch thing, you'd be shocked at the comments, the positive comments that I get from I had one this morning on watch bands where I talked about the actual G10 NATO versus the 5-ring NATO band today and what it really is and how you can't use the term NATO band anymore because some guy bought it, copyrighted it. Like if anybody uses it now in print, he sues them. It's crazy. But a guy was just happy. He's like, dude, I'm so happy you made this video because you're right. Nobody knows this stuff. So it makes me feel good that I'm making other people feel good. So thank you for letting me make you feel good. All right, we'll get to the end of this here. I do want to quickly say that t-shirt thing is happening. It's hard, man, because I'm not doing everything myself, and I have to rely on other people, and I hate that. I hate it because it's on their schedule. And I'm jazzed about doing something right now, and maybe I got the coin right now to make that happen. Some of you sent me a couple bucks when I talked about doing this, and I wanted to buy a printer and do the sublimation printing. And the more I looked into it and the amount of work it takes to do each one of those prints versus silk screening, and silk screening is an art. You're doing this by hand, right? You create the artwork, you burn the screen, you got the screen, you do this whole process with squeegeeing the ink on the t-shirt yourself, and it's, it gets into the fibers and it sits on top of it. And it's art from start to finish. You come up with the idea for the logo, you do the logo, you make a computer file. The whole process is real art. Sublimation printing isn't. It's just a picture. You do this, you print it, you heat transfer it, and you're done. I like the idea of the silk screening better. So those of you who sent me money for that, don't worry. That money's still sitting there. That's what the money's going to go. So as soon as I get these screens printed, the first one's going to be the Mike Z design. They're happening right now. Hopefully this week we'll get those. And then I might take a couple bucks and have a short run printed so I could try to sell them quick, and then hopefully you guys keep acting like you want them. That's what'll happen. I'll wear it and then nobody buys them. I'd be like, fuck, what the hell's going on? But that's the idea. And then I have the screen. All right, and I did silk screening in high school. I can do it again. It's not that difficult. So I'll get a setup. And from time to time, I'll do a run of X amount of t-shirts. I'll wear one in a video. I'll tell you these things are available. And we'll do short runs like that. And you guys will be happy because people all the time are like, how can I support the channel? And I'm not selling swag yet that way. And I don't have a lot of things. I don't do, I don't even know what it's called anymore. But you guys know what it is. There's a whole Patreon. I don't have that set up because I didn't do this to make money. But t-shirts are cool, and people like wearing, in particular, you know, those of you guys are here. You like cool and different stuff, right? That's who I am. You can own something that not everybody else has. And if it's a cool logo and it's cool, then other people go, oh, that's cool. What is that? And then that, you understand how this works. The Palooka Watch Channel t-shirt's going to be really cool. I'm so excited about that. I have so many others. All right, I'll show you this one. I wasn't going to show you, but I just think it's funny. This is what I do. I write something down. I draw a T-shirt around it. The first one is just from the film Roadie with Meatloaf and Blondie. If you haven't seen the movie Roadie, get that movie. You're gonna have to buy it. I don't think that's streaming anywhere. I think it was 1980, and you got to see this flick, man. It's like it's off the wall. Art Carney's in it. Blondie's in it. Alice Cooper's in it. You know, they all play themselves. And Blondie does a cover of Ring of Fire as a country western song. She's wearing a cowboy hat. And she's got a real part in it, playing herself. Like, she's adorable in this movie. But it's, I can't think of his name, right? Redcliffe? I can't think of his name, which is funny because there's this actor in there that makes fun of his name the whole time. Red Feather, or whatever the hell he calls him. But him and his dad is Art Carney, and they have like a salvage yard business. And the phrase, the quote is, everything works if you let it. And I thought about putting that on a t-shirt. I think that'd be kind of cool because that's a great, everything works if you let it. Because that follows right along the message I'm always throwing out here, which is most of you are sabotaging your lives and your progress with your own thoughts. Just let it work out, man. Stop sabotaging it. And I think that'd be a nice positive thing to put on a t-shirt. But the other one is this one. First, I'll show you you see that? Is it focusing? How would you pronounce that? How would you pronounce that? Would that be Pahuya? Pahuya, maybe? Pyhooya? Pahuya? And I thought, like, I had this funny idea because, you know, I had this fantasy of doing Kill Tony, and I still got to go to the comedy place, but it's just, I've been beating myself up every day. I'm just too beat up. It'll happen. Believe me, it'll happen. I'm not going to let that fall to the side. But one of the things that always hurt me with the entertainment business is my name. Is my last name. Most people don't pronounce it correct. I didn't pronounce my last name correctly until I went to Greece in my 30s. All right, I grew up saying Zicopoulos, which is not at all correct. It's horrible. It's the incorrect pronunciation, but that's how we grew up saying it. And I went to Greece and I learned it's Zicopoulos. Or Zicopoulos, or Zicopoulos is what it is. You drop the S if you're a female. So it's Zicopoulos. You could say those two ways. It's Zicopoulos if you're a woman. They drop the S. And it sounds better that way, and it's more correct. That's how it's said, right? Because when I say it the other way, I get smacked by my dad's aunt, you know, in Greece, the old lady. She didn't like my tattoos either. And so when I came out here with that name, it was hard, and it was always recommended to me by people in the industry. I was doing the acting thing when I first got out here. I didn't really try very hard, but I did get some work, and I could have done that. I was on track. I was already getting work, but I did not like the people out here. I didn't like being around them, and I was getting work behind the scenes, right? Designing, building sets, and doing all that. So people would look at my name, just call me Mike Z. And that's where Mike Z came from. The whole Mike Z design thing and everything, just because I'm lazy. That's all that was. It was like, fuck it, that's fine, Mike Z. That's all anybody else wants it to be. Let it be that. Make my life easier. Don't think about it anymore. And when I've been on shows, I've been on a bunch of TV shows, right? So like The Love Connection or The Monster House, but I was on other stuff too. And they would even misspell my name in the credits, man, which was very annoying for me. So I just, like, my last name is very tough. Like, but you would think Schwarzenegger, but somehow Schwarzenegger works. It's a cooler than Zicopoulos, you know? Zicopoulos didn't sound so bad that time. It just sounds weird to me even when I say it because I was so unsure. It was so funny. I learned the correct pronunciation. I went to my father, like, Dad, what the hell, man? Why aren't we saying our name right? He goes, your mother can never get it right. And that was my dad. That's the story of my dad and my mom in a nutshell. Right there. It wasn't worth the aggravation trying to correct her on anything. It's a thing with women in my family. It is not the amount of crap you got to go through just to get things correct and right. It's not worth it. It'll take years off your life, man. Believe me. So I wrote this down. I would just, and I thought of Kill Tony, right? I imagine, like, I laughed myself. I couldn't sleep the other night because I came up with this, and I imagined this scenario of, you know, you get pulled up, you go on stage, and the guy says, you know, Michael Bahuya, let's welcome Michael. And then, you know, you do the thing, and hopefully you're funny. And then he's going to say, this name, what is this? What is that? And you go, pull your head out of your ass, which sounds like an insult. But that's actually what it is. It's pull your head out of your ass. Now, I don't know how you feel about that, but that cracks me up. Like, I love the idea of having that on a t-shirt, just that. And if somebody walked up to you, go, what is that? And you just go, pull your head out of your ass. It's like, it's a horrible insult to somebody. Like, what do you mean pull my head out of your ass? Pull my head out of my ass. What the hell's wrong with you, man? Pull your head out of your ass. And then they get it, and hopefully they laugh with you. To me, as stupid as that might sound to some people, you tell me in the comments, I think that's hysterical. Pull your head out of your ass, Tony. Like, that's, and then he'd look at it and he'd get it. And that would be funny. So, one last thing. I think we're over an hour already. There's a new Springsteen picture out. A lot of us, in particular from Jersey, who are Springsteen fans, we've got a problem with him, you know, just because of his politics. And it's not that just because he's a liberal person, but it's the fact that he just, you know, and he has the right to do this, by the way, you know. But you go to a concert, and I only ever went to one Springsteen concert. It was out here in the 2000s, like 2004 or something. I rode over there on the motorcycle, and Mike Ness came up on stage, and that was cool for me. But he started spouting his stupid politics, and nobody wants to hear it. People boo in the crowd, you know. And then you learn later that he's been living this other life, and you know, making all this money while he's also pushing this social agenda, which would never affect him because he's got so much money. Wealthy people pushing socialism, communism on the country should just shut the fuck up because it doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect you. At least you don't think it affects you. So shut up about it. So there's that. And it's been a bummer because he's put this bad taste on it. And like I said before, every song he has is like a anthem to blue collar America, you know, patriotism. It's all these things that it's how people live. But if you understand his mindset, he's shitting on it. He's crapping on America. He's crapping on the American dream. His whole point of view is that way. It doesn't seem that way when you listen to the songs. Because if you were living it, it just seemed like he's singing about what's real. That's fine. But you understand now that there was this judgment thing coming from him the whole time. That's the problem. He's looking down his nose at it. He wanted to pull himself out of that, which he did, which is great. But it's a problem. And so it's been this thing in my brain for like the last 15 years or more with him because I love his music, man. His early stuff, you know, up until Born in the USA. Because after that, I wasn't listening to any of his new stuff. There was some record in the 80s that he came out with. Maybe it was Tunnel of Love or something. It had okay stuff on it, but whatever. I like the early stuff. That was his music back then. The River, Nebraska, The Innocent, the Wild, and the E Street Shuffle, Born to Run, you know, all those records. Darkness on the Edge of Town. That's the soundtrack of my youth, in particular, high school. You know, that line, barefoot girl sitting on the hood of a Dodge in the soft summer rain. I lived that. I had a Dodge in high school, and girls would sit on my car in the soft summer rain, drinking a beer, like at parties and whatnot. Like, it's just ingrained with positive imagery in my brain, so I can't hate it. I just can't hate it. And I'm not angry. I was pissed at first when I started learning how he lives his life and versus what he espouses for the rest of us. That because it's hypocritical, and I don't like hypocrites. It really bothered me. But I'm older, and I can separate those two things. And he has the right to be who he is, just as we all do. So, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? He could be who he is. And but this new picture coming out, it does look good. I mean, you have to be a Springsteen fan to really be interested in watching it. And I've watched a few videos now on the actor who plays him and the process, and some of the other actors in the picture, the guy who played his dad and whatnot. And I think it's something I'll watch. I don't think I'll pay to see it. I think I'll wait till it gets on the TV. Excuse me. But I just wanted to throw that out there. It's the last couple of days laying around here feeling like crap. I am not feeling well. It's just I'm softer about it. I've softened my attitude on it, which is another good point to make here. Because people like me, if you're going to get in front of a camera and espouse your opinions on things from time to time, people watch that and they get rigid about what you said, and they think that's how he is, that's what he believes. The truth is, we're human beings, and then as we soften a little bit, as we see things from other perspectives, as we think things out, our attitudes can change a little bit on it, and that's okay. That's the right thing to do. So, which is kind of a message for the youth. You might think that you know everything now, and I'm telling you, you don't, because I was that age at one time, and I know. So give it time. As you experience life, and you eventually learn that nothing is free in this world. Money's coming from somewhere. This thing of vilifying the rich is the wrong thing to do. Taxing the wealthy. They already pay the majority. You'll say, oh no, they got lawyers not to pay taxes. They're all still paying. The wealthy pays the majority of the taxes in this country. And super wealthy people that own companies and businesses have to buy materials and whatnot to make things happen. They're paying a shit ton of taxes on the stuff that they're purchasing to make the business work. There's so many levels to it that simple-minded people aren't thinking about because they're being emotionally driven to think a certain thing about those people. Elon Musk getting $1 trillion, possibly, right? Who cares? That's not, that $1 trillion that he might end up with doesn't take money out of your pocket. That's the insinuation. That's a lie. It doesn't take any money out of your pocket. Billionaires don't keep poor people poor. That's a lie. It's a total lie. So, because wealth is not finite. I keep saying this here. I wish would somebody please pass this message along? You could say legitimately, how much do you need? Billions of dollars, trillions of dollars. You should pass that along. Well, a lot of them do. A lot of them do give money away. A lot of them do build things or do childcare for people, build hospitals. Like, these guys do give a lot of money away and help people out. You just don't hear about it from the media when they do it. But they do it. And it's important for them to do that because it's a tax write-off for them. And that's how they save on taxes, is they do give a lot of money away. But you don't know about it because the legacy media wants to vilify those people to pit us against one another. Nothing wrong with wealthy people. I love wealthy people. People with money can afford to pay me to do things for them. I'll tell you what, you're a poor person, work for rich people. Figure out something that people are willing to pay for and provide that service for them. And you will make enough money to survive. If you get connected with the right people, you can make enough money to thrive. You can end up with a house, multiple houses, cars, everything, just by providing a service, the right service, to the people who can afford it. Very simple. You don't have to have a 9-to-5 gig, man. You got to think outside the box. I don't know why nobody's explaining this to these people. And you don't need college, especially these days. indoctrination center for mental illness. That's what it's become. And revisionist history and a bunch of bullshit. On that happy note, I got to sit down and relax. I got to eat something and take care of myself, because even if I'm not feeling up to it tomorrow, I still have to put some time in. That project's going pretty well. I got the 2 lower doors made yesterday for that floating vanity, and not yesterday, but on Friday. So I'll try to put in as much time as I can this week each day, even if it's only a few hours. If I don't want to push myself to the point where I get like really, really, really sick. So I got to play it by ear. I'm lightheaded right now. I just took a deep breath and I got a little lightheaded, like a vertigo feeling there. It's not good. And I am going to lose a day this week, probably I don't know if it's a whole day, because I have that VA appointment. But that's what's happening. I'll fill you guys in on the rest of the week as it happens. And this is just me rambling. Once again, stream of conscious. Don't know everything I'm going to say. So I hope I didn't offend too many people. Hope you guys enjoyed this. And be good to one another. I'll catch you in the next one.